Let's see here. All right. Today, our videos prior to the calendar and everything at the top of the hour, we had a video on you've got to jump. And here is a guy who certainly took that jump. He could have stayed safely on land. He had a job. He could have stayed where he was and been satisfied. Some people certainly are, but not Michael. Michael Huggins took the leap. He jumped off. He took the gamble. His parachute opened, and he's been soaring high ever since. He took that risk. He believed in what he had. He believed in the knowledge and the training that Renatus gave him. He has made it very, very successful. And here to help us be successful today is Michael Huggins. Good morning, Michael.
Morning, Ron. Good morning, Team Elevate, Renatus Nation, everybody out there. Good morning. It's Money Monday, and today we're going to talk about making money. So I hope you tuned in for that very reason. There's a few things that if we concentrate on those throughout our week, then we'll start hitting the goals we're hitting. I am hearing a lot of students making money. They're getting sales. They're definitely using the deadline of the price increase. So hopefully you guys are part of that crew that's making money, pushing this product. I followed up with a bunch of guys and gals last week who, last month or 2 months ago, they're like, yeah, I'll do it. And they still haven't done it. And we're following up, and you know what? This price increase is really making a lot of people take action. And we're getting some people who are like, well, I was going to get the advanced combo, but I don't want to pay 10 grand. So, okay, I'll get it for 8. Yeah, you will. Let's go. Okay, so here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about 4 money-making activities and making sure that we are getting paid what we're worth, and we're getting paid, understanding why we're getting paid, where it's coming from, so we can duplicate. Once you get it down, you can just copy and keep getting the same result. That's what we want. So, okay, here we go. If this is your first Money Monday, welcome. All right, so here's a question for you. What do we get paid for? What do we get paid for? So sometimes people will say we get paid for time. Some people will say we get paid for knowledge. Some people will say we get paid for a skill. It's actually a combination. If you add up time, and knowledge and skills, what that will equal is value to the marketplace. Now, for some of you, you already understand this. Good for you. Some of you are brand new, and this was never explained to you in a way that made sense or made dollars. Right? We're here to make dollars, not cents. I mean, we'll take the cents, but we're here for dollars. Okay, so how do we get more dollars? We get more dollars by becoming more valuable to the marketplace. We become more valuable by putting in more time, by increasing our knowledge and mastering our skills. So, I guess what I would put here, simply put, the time is about 10 hours a week. The knowledge is on the 4 money-making activities, and the skill is talking. Okay. Now, remember, we need to be talking to the right people that have the capacity to buy and the need to buy. Make sure we're not talking to people who don't need us. So this is how you're going to be able to bring value to the marketplace. Now, who are we bringing value to? Just to be clear, you are bringing value to bringing value to the customer, the new person that needs the knowledge. You're also bringing value to the CEO, the guy that runs the show, Bob Snyder. So you're bringing value to the customer by connecting them to a product that the CEO made, and you're bringing value to the CEO to connect the customer so that he can sell his product. Okay, so now you're creating two values. This is what I want you to remember. Sometimes we get so wrapped up in our heads and we want to, we just want to get the value for ourselves and we forget how many people we're creating value for. Value, value, value. We're going to switch so this works better. There we go. Switching, switching. There, now this should make more sense. Huh. Where did it go? Had something cool for you. Okay, so here we are, adding value to customers out in the marketplace and to Bob Snyder. So these people, the customers, they're going to receive a ton of value from Bob Snyder and his product. And so some of that value ends up going back to you in the form of cash. Love me some cash. Hey, screen, you're supposed to be sharing. There we go. So tons of value back to the customer for the money they paid. They paid 20 grand. May 28th, they'll pay 25 grand, and they're getting at least $1 million worth of value. Okay, so then the customer get value, CEO gets some money, and he sends some money to you because of the time, the knowledge, and the skill that you brought to the marketplace. Okay, this is what I want to make sure we're getting paid for, because sometimes people are like, they've been in for months and they're not getting paid and they need it. They don't just want it, they freaking need the money and they're still not doing the right stuff. You only need to work a few hours a week if you do the right stuff, okay? Same thing with real estate. If you're doing the right stuff, a couple hours a month. So ask yourself, if you're not getting paid monthly what you want to be paid, or you're not putting in the hours you want to work, why? What are we missing? So let's focus on the 4 money-making activities. This is that knowledge that we were talking about, okay? So write this down. 4 money-making activities. This is what we're going to spend our time on, okay? Not watching classes, not setting goals. Those things are important. This is what we're going to daily, like when I get off the phone with you guys, I'm going to get on the phone with Bob Snyder for our PAT call. And then once I get off the call with him, I'm going to go through these 4 money-making activities for myself every day. Todos los días. Los días. Todos los días. Las días. Okay. First money-making activity is find the people. So I need to write this down, draw this out. Find the people. So your job is to get names, emails, and phone numbers. Register your guest. Let me call that finding the people. Job number 1, find the people. So for a lot of you, the instruction is make a list. You know 200 people, you know 500 people, you know 30 people. Make a list. And then do 3-way calls with your 5-star. And I talked about how those 3-way calls go down. We've gone over the scripts and that on previous calls, so go back to the recordings and find those. But it's time to make your list, do your 3-way calls, And you know what happens on the three-way calls is the second step. So step number 1 is find the people. Step number 2 is tell the story. Now, tell the story is simple. It's your story. So if you're the person making the list, great, you tell your story. If you're the three-way call guy, the 5-star, the 1-star, then you tell your story. All we're doing is telling stories. Okay? Now, what we understand with telling the story is there's your story, there's your affiliate story, there's Bob's story, why he created the company, there's the company's story, where we've been, where we're going. Tell the story of a fellow IMA, someone who's made you cry, someone who's made you laugh. So we're telling stories. Now, the story does not have to be elaborate. Pretty basic story. Story of what it is and what it could be. Here's what it was. Here's what it changed to. Here's what it was. Here's what it changed to. Here's what my breakfast used to look like. Here's what my breakfast now looks like. Here's what my car used to look like. Here's what it looks like now. Here's what my address looked like. Here's what my paycheck looked like. So it's what it was and what it could be, or what it was and what it is. So that's our story. We're just drawing a contrast between where we were and where we are. And then we go back in history and where we were and where we are. So these are the high points and the low points in our stories. Okay, so I'll give you an example. An example would be, I'm going to tell you a quick story. One of my friends used to, he used to knock doors all summer long for someone else, and you get the door slammed on his face and didn't really have much opportunity. But once he learned real estate and he started knocking doors for himself, he was able to find motivated sellers. So he took his skill of knocking doors and turned it into how to find houses off market. Now he's making more money. Now he's making more money than he ever used to, working less. So what it is, what it could be. What it is, what it could be. Simple stories. Okay. So now we're telling the story. Now, this is a very, very important step in telling the story because our customer is asking themselves 3 questions. Okay. And the reason why we're telling the stories is to answer those questions. So the questions are, number 1, will it work? Something they're asking. Another thing they're asking is, will it work for me? That's something they're asking in their head. Will it work? Will it work for me? And the last question they're asking themselves is, will I do it? Well, the only way for them to answer those questions is to hear stories. Will it work? Well, listen to this story. Will it work for me? Well, listen to this story. Well, will you do it? Well, listen to this story. If you're making calls, you're making invitations, you're standing in line at the grocery store and you're still trying to get people interested in what we do, if you tell the story, your likelihood of success, someone receiving that invitation and attending, goes way, 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 way up. You need to tell the story. So where can we find stories? And the easiest places to find stories. That's a loud alarm. Okay. Easiest place to find stories is YouTube. The stories are all on YouTube. The Renatus reviews, all right, the YouTube channel. This is where people are trying to figure out, again, will it work? Will it work for them, and will they do it? So some of your prospects love talking on the phone. Great, tell them stories over the phone. Some of your prospects want to do a little bit of research. So great, send them some links from the Renatus YouTube and give them something to study, give them something to look up. Find the people, tell the story. Okay. So telling the story, you could, and depending on your prospect, someone a 10-second story and someone a 10-minute story. So you're going to use your knowledge and your skills to figure out what type of story they need. Okay, pay attention. And guess what? Telling the stories and opening up people's eyeballs is a way to add value to their lives, showing them what's possible. Okay, number 3, the third money-making activity is build for events. Build for events. That's what we're doing. We're an event-driven business. Write that down. We are an event-driven business. If you're one of those people that's like, well, I don't think I'm going to go to the events, then you're not going to make that much money. It's up to you. How much of this you want to get in on? Totally up to you. I'm saying if you're behind on your promises, you're behind on your bills, even if you're not behind on your bills, some of you are behind on your promises, right? It is time to ramp this business up like crazy. Spend the time you need to learn the skills, to add the right value so you run a successful business. And it's not just this one-off, every couple months you get a combo kind of thing. We're an event-driven business. We go to every event. We build for events. We understand the events. We attend all the events. We go early to the events. We stay late for the events. Okay, the events are the business. We're an event-driven business. So what are all the events? Where do we find the events? Well, the events are pretty simple. Really, what I like people to think of is imagine these events as you're a chaperone or an ambassador. You're an education ambassador, you're a student advocate. And what you do is you meet these potential students in this hallway, and behind each of these doors is an event for them to attend. And you say, hey, go to this event, now go to this one, now go to this one. And all you're doing, because you're already in, you already know what's at each event, and you love it. So you're already there, but what you're doing is continually showing them, hey, it's time to go to the house tour. Now go to the 4 pillars. Now it's time to go to an intensive and meet an instructor. Now let's go play cash flow, or let's go do the velocity banking game, right? And we're just introducing people through a series of rooms. These are the events that we're working with. So sometimes all you do is build for one event, you're not going to make that much money. As soon as they come out of that first room, that first house tour, that first 4 pillars, whatever it is, as soon as they come out, we don't just say, okay, well, I'll see you later. No. The major key to successful building for events is what we call a BAM fam. A BAM fam is an acronym that means always book a meeting from a meeting. So as soon as they leave the house tour, the 4 pillars, we're booking another meeting. It's not one of those, hey, I'll call you and we'll figure out a time. If you're already at the house tour, you're already at the epic, you're already at the follow-up, why do they need to call you to figure out a time? You're right there. Figure out a time right there. So someone's like, hey, I'll call you next week. We'll figure this out. You can say, nah, I'm incredibly busy next week. Let's schedule it now. That way I can make sure it happens. Okay. Building for events. So most markets have 4 major events. They have a house tour. They got an intro or a 4 pillars. They got an intensive. And there's a cash flow. There's also the study groups and the mastermind, stuff like that, that's members only, but we're still building for those events, right? Building for events. Hey, you want to come to this event? Why? Because of this, this, this. Hey, you want to come to this event? Why? Because of this, this, and this. All right. Each event has its own, 2 or 3 bullet points. Why you should attend. This reason, that reason. This one, this one, this one. Okay. You got to introduce this guy, that guy, that guy. There's your reasons for building for the event. And you're going to end up telling a story about the events and why they should come. You're good at storytelling. If you suck at telling stories, go to Toastmasters. It's $100 a year. You get 52 lessons. So tell a story of the events. Building for the events. Hey, go to this room, go to this room, go to this room. Now bye. Okay, building for your events. Always, always, always check the calendar. Okay, there's online events, streaming, recorded online, and then, of course, the live. The live makes most of the money. 80-20. Okay. Now, the fourth step, the fourth money-making activity to engage in for your business to grow is continuous follow-up. Follow up, follow up, follow up. We got a continuous follow-up. Because unfortunately, customers are afraid of saying yes on the first. Now, some people will say yes on the first, you'll get it. 10% of the time, I'll get a yes on the first meeting. Someone will come to 4 pillars and they'll say, yes, I'm in. Cool. But the other 90%, they're not ready the first time. So what do? How do we get them in? It's the continuous follow-up. It's trying to figure out, all right, well, what's going to be the most valuable thing for you? Right? Is it taxes? Is it banking? Is it business? Is it real estate? What's going to be the most valuable thing for you? And in our continuous follow-up is where we really start to ask those important questions. It's not necessary to spend so much time at the beginning of the process and try to find, at the beginning of the process when you're finding the people, do not spend a million hours trying to qualify them. Okay, a few minutes. Then once they've gone through the information and they've invested the hours that they are supposed to invest to learn about Renatus, then once they put in that time, then sure, you put in a couple hours. In the continuous follow-up, sometimes it does take a few hours. But that's all right. We're already putting in hours, aren't we? So my question is how, because of the hours already putting in, what do you want to get paid? Don't put the hours in at the beginning of this thing, okay? Hold on 1 second. I'm trying to share my screen and it's getting confused. There we go. Sharing is caring. Okay, ¿por qué me no seeing the screen? What's going on here? You guys see my screen? Huh. Odd. All right, stand by. Stand by. Team Elevate. Stand by 1 second. Changing something. Okay, this should let me do it now. Continuous follow-up. And now it doesn't want to work. Okay, so just imagine, continue this funnel. Imagine like I said, say yes first time, but most people they're like, hold on a sec. You want me to spend 20 grand? I don't even know. And you're just like, you had to look them dead in the face and say, yes, I expect you to sign up for this. You told me you wanted it. Here's the best version of it. Why delay? If you needed a really good car and I brought you one for a discount, you needed a car, here you go, fits everything. Of course, you would put an expectation on there that they need to buy it. It is time to buy. Now they're going to have questions. They're going to have questions. They're going to have concerns. They're going to have their own comments. Don't worry about it. It is now time to do our continuous follow-up. We're back, ladies and gentlemen. You can see my screen. Woohoo! See if you stick with it, you'll find your solution. Okay, so our continuous follow-up. This is our fourth money-making activity. This step, ladies and gentlemen, is where all of the rejection happens. This is where you start to be rejected. They're going to reject your first request at signing up. They're going to reject it the first time. And probably the second time and the third time. But guess what? Right around the fourth time, but on the fourth time you ask, they start to actually consider saying yes. Now in their mind, they've already been like, man, I want this, I want this, I want this, but they won't say it out loud yet. So you got to go through this process. Okay, hey, do you want this? Even if they're your friends, they're not going to tell you yes on the first one. They're going to reject you on the first one, and then the second, then the third, and then on the fourth, they'll be like, you know what? I'm glad you kept asking because I really wanted to do this the whole time. Okay, so just be prepared for rejection. Just know it's coming. Not a big deal. If you don't get rejected at least 3 times a week, you're not really trying. Okay. Remember, rejection is here's what I like to think about it. When they say no, what they really mean is I don't know, which really means maybe, which really means yes. So when I hear a no, I just don't even hear it. I'm waiting for my yes. Because when they say no, why the hell would someone say no to Renatus? Honestly, the only reason people say no is because they don't know something. They don't know that they could fund it. They don't know about how the comp plan really works. They don't know it's a lifetime membership. They don't know it's for 2 people. They don't know we got an A+ with the BBB. They just don't know, and that's why they're saying no. So if you keep asking, then you're going to start to figure out why they're saying no, clear it up for them, and get your yes. This is where the discipline comes in. Okay, right here, the discipline comes in because we want to be polite. We like being polite and amicable and easy to work with. I want to be polite. And so this is what happens. We're trying to be polite, but when we ask for the order and then we get a no, and then we ask again, then some society rules have told you that this ask again is not polite. It's actually rude. How dare you ask? I already said no. Now you're like, well, I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be looked at as rude. My mom told me I got to be polite. And so we've unintentionally listened to mom. And, you know, mom's got a lot of great advice. But unfortunately, in this regard, when mom told us that it was rude to ask again, she was wrong. Okay. We gotta override this thing. When we ask, we get a no, and we ask again. The only polite thing to do if we have the most valuable product is ask again. That's what's polite about it. Get them involved. You know what? I'm not going to take your no as your first no because I understand you don't know what you're saying no to. So to continue to be polite and add value to your life, I'm going to ask again and again and again and again and again. So maybe some of you are battling with that whole funny little paradigm. This is such a small world to live in. If you ask and you say no and you ask again and then it's rude, what a small world to live in. Okay, that's not the world. That's not the real world. You got to ask again and ask again. And if they say no, then you ask again. It's kind of like insisting, especially with your friends. You know that word insist? I insist. Right? You're standing at the door. You're holding the door open. I don't know how to draw an open door. You're holding the door open. Right? You're just saying, come on in. I got it for you. You're holding the door. Nah, you come in. All right, this person's over here. They're walking in. Nah, you come in. Nah, I got the door. You go ahead. Nah, you go ahead. Nah, you go ahead. Guess what? Whoever insists the most will get it. Is this person insisting more or is this person insisting more? I insist that you go first. Just like I insist you buy an X combo. I insist. Right? Insisting is polite. I insist. If you want to be polite, insist they buy a combo. Okay? Make sure we're not running crappy old pattern poor people poverty loops like this whole thing right here. Make sure you're not running these loops. Okay? Understand them, think about them. Are you running a pattern or are you consciously deciding your feelings, your thoughts, your actions? Okay? So here we are. We're doing our continuous follow-up. We're asking for the order. Asking for the order. Here's where we get into an add value cycle. Remember the whole thing we get paid for? We get paid for the value that we bring to the marketplace. So let's create a cycle of value. So you must. If you ever want to be taken seriously, if you ever want to feed your family and pay your bills as a business owner, self-employed person, independent of a wage, if you ever want that, you must, there is no way around it. You must ask for the order. You must ask. If you don't ask, you will have skinny kids. You must ask for the order. Okay, salespeople who don't ask have skinny kids. You know what I mean by that? Skinny kids, right? They don't eat because you're not asking for the order. You're not killing it. You're not making some sales. You gotta ask. Now, asking for the order is going to set off a chain reaction. This is what we're after. We went through step 1, step 2, step 3, and step 4 just so we could start this chain reaction of asking for the order. Ask for the order. Okay, it's going to start a chain reaction. Woohoo! This is where we can leverage some domino effect. You guys like that domino effect? You guys ever read that book, The One Thing? It's something after like 20 dominoes, if you doubled the size of the domino, you could knock over the Empire State Building with a regular ass domino. So now we're gonna kickstart this value cycle. And when we ask for the order, what is going to trigger is an objection. Well, it's going to trigger an answer. We're either going to get a yes or a no. A yes or a no. If we get a yes, great. We're going to have an order entry party and get paid. It might trigger a no, which is fine. If it triggers a no, then there's an objection. There's only 4 main objections. Do you guys remember what they are? The 4 main objections. Number 1 is, I don't have the money. Number 2 is, I don't have the time. Number 3 is, I'm afraid. I've never done this before. It sounds risky. And then number 4 is knowledge. I don't know how. Even though we're showing them how, they'll still say, I don't know how. Even though we show them the money, they'll still say, I don't have the money. Even though we say, look, it's only a half hour a day for your first 90 days, they'll still say, I don't have the time. They still say it. It's nonsense. They say it anyway. Get over it. But it's that chain reaction that I'm telling you about where we get to the next step, to the next one, to the next one. So once you get the objection, then we're going to solve. Guess how we solve? The easiest, fastest way to solve these objections, guess what? Stories. Facts tell, stories sell. So when they're like, oh, I don't have any money, be like, you know what? Neither did this person, 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 this person. How many more people do you want me to show you that didn't have the money? Oh, I don't have the time. Well, neither did this person, this person, this person, this person, this person, right? And you just go down and you share the stories and solve that objection. And then once you've done that, then you ask for the order again. And you're either going to get a yes or a no. Okay, this is a little cycle here. So how we keep this clean, okay, so we'll take these stories and ask again. And how we keep the value add. This is the whole name of the game. How do we keep the value adding to the relationship, not subtracting from the relationship? The next thing you're going to have to do after you AFTO, what I was just talking about here, next thing to do is a BAM FAM. Remember we just talked about this earlier? So when you AFTO and then you a BAM FAM, all we're doing is saying, okay, great, we're going to solve this challenge. You want to know how to find the money? You want to know how to structure your time? You want to see some more classes? Great, let's a BAM FAM. I had a guy this weekend. We've been following. I've been doing my continuous follow up with him since February. We're now on 90 days, 100 days. We're following up with this guy, and he's been to every freaking meeting. Remember we built for the events? He came to a house tour, 4 pillars, cash flow, intensive. He even came to nationals, and we're like, come on, man. What's going on? AFTO, he doesn't buy. He has an objection. And we have BAM FAM. Now, his objection was, well, I just want to make sure it's legit, right? So a little bit of fear is involved. A little bit of knowledge is involved. He has the money. He has the time. Okay, so what's stopping you? So he just wanted to actually see some class. So I'm like, dude, come over to my house. Sorry, I didn't know you wanted to act. I thought you'd seen some already. Come over to my house. We watched about an hour and 20 minutes, just the first 2 sections of Buy and Hold Day 1, where Chris Wilson just lays it out. Now, what I did, the reason why I'm telling you this is because once I asked for the order, so follow along. Once I asked for the order and I triggered my objection, he said he wants to just verify, he wants to see. I took that as great. It's now time to book a meeting from a meeting. So I was meeting with him. We went to lunch, and this is how fast it could happen. So we're at lunch, talking about it. He's got the money, but he's just still not pulling the trigger. So I said, you know what? Let's go to my house and let's go watch some class. So right there at that meeting, I booked another meeting, and he got in my car. And we drove over to the house, watched it, and he was like, holy crap. This is what I was looking for. Okay, I'm in. This is what I needed to see. So after an hour of that, guess what I did? So after we had BAM FAM'd and he came to the house, guess what I did? Of course, I AFTO'd, right? I asked for the order. And he said, yes. That time I got a yes. Woo-hoo! Says, I got to run. Send me the link. I'll sign up tonight. So I opened up my emails to see if he did, and he sent me back some. He's like, hey, Michael, I thought it was a different price. Can we go over these again? No problem. No problem. This is very typical. You know why? We're going right back to here. One of the objections, money. He said, Michael, I thought you were talking about it was cheaper. Right? He was focused on commission. I'm like, no, that's a commission. That's not the retail price. So a little more thing. We'll clear up the money thing today. I'll give him a call this afternoon after our pack call with Bob. And I'll AFTO again. Okay. Most likely by that time I'll have the order and the funding ready. But with your customers, if you've AFTO'd again, now you're going to trigger again a yes or a no. Just happens. You get either a yes or you get a no. If you get a no, it's an objection. You got to solve, right? And then you loop and you ask again. And if you get a yes, it's an OEP and you get paid. Okay, now every meeting that they attend, okay, this M in the ABAM fam, okay, every meeting they're attending, oh, interesting. Okay, every meeting that they're attending is another value add, another opportunity to receive value. So every one of these ABAM fams that we ABAM fam to, that we build for, every event we're building for, they're receiving more value. This is value here in their life, more value here. Then we have these AFTOs where we help them overcome objections. That's another way of adding value to someone's life, is to see clearly how they can hit their goals. Vision is value. So in your AFTOs and in your ABAM fams, you're adding value with these conversations. Now you might not get a yes right away. That's fine. We know that some people need to see 3 or 4 meetings. Not a big deal. Sometimes they just need to hear 3 or 4 stories. So you spend a half hour one day, call 5 IMAs. Hey, share your story, share your story, share your story. If you were going to do that, you would say, hey, Mr. Customer, tomorrow I set aside some time. Here's what we're going to do. And you're going to ABAM fam. You're going to book a meeting from a meeting. And you're going to schedule some time to either share more stories personally or get some of your teammates to share their stories. And now we're in this AFTO ABAM fam cycle. Now remember, those stories, while we're in here, is another way of adding value, helping them see clearly a path they can follow to get in, to hit their dreams, to hit their goals. So this AFTO ABAM fam cycle, if you stick with it, sometimes it's 30 days, sometimes it's 90 days, sometimes it's 3 years, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I do a BAM, AFTO and a BAM fam for years with people. So think about it. Let's say I did it for over 4 years. I was a BAM fammy, right? Let's say 50 months and I get a $10,000 check, but it took me over 4 years to do it. Well, that just means every month I got $200. Every month I got $200 to do follow-up call. 5 years later, cool, I got a $10,000 check. And each time you made a call, you got, right? This is what I'm talking about. How you got to see your vision through. Okay, remember the Woody Woodward's training this morning on the board games that those guys were inventing? They had to see it through. This ABAM fam AFTO cycle is incredibly valuable. Okay, this is what people are looking for in their world. They're looking for that value. So keep the cycle going. AFTO, ABAM fam, AFTO, ABAM fam. Eventually, you will get to your yeses. And when you get to your yeses, and they're in like Flynn, then we have an OEP. An OEP stands for Order Entry Party. This is where it's time to get excited. Right? It's not like, all right, let's go over some corporate documents and sign your freaking life away. That's not it at all. This is an OEP. It's a party. Let's get excited about it. Right? They're making those steps. It's happening. It's going to take 15 minutes or so to go through the questionnaire, set up your password, and change everything, get the signatures in, get in the groove, make it a favorite, save the password. 15 minutes or so. So make it a party. Woohoo! You're in. Welcome. If there's any other IMAs around while you're putting in their order, invite them over here. Hey, high five. Great news. Newest team member right here. Right? Congrats. Congrats. Lots of congrats. Right? After you enroll them and you're going to bed, before you go to bed, just say, man, I'm just so excited. I just want to say congrats one more time. Right? Congratulations on you taking a step for your life. Congrats. Then we do those OEPs, like I said, 15, 20 minutes. Get that taken care of. We focus on to do the best thing for them. We focus on duplication. What is going to duplicate? So I tell them right away, 10-step training. Just get on Bob's thing. 10-step training, duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. And this is where the paychecks come from. This is the value that you could bring to Bob Snyder, is understanding this process and freaking cranking it out like there's no tomorrow. This is your opportunity. This is for you to take seriously. No one else is going to do this for you. We'll do it with you, but we're not going to do it for you. Okay, so find this recording, rewatch it a million times. Any complaining IMAs, send it to them. Any new IMAs, send it to them. Any IMAs thinking they're about to quit, send this to them. Okay, keep this simple. This is all I think about. This is what Vanessa and I talk about. This is what we mastermind about. All the efforts, energy that goes into this stuff is all to make sure this system and this cycle runs through easily and clearly. Okay, so I made a little PowerPoint slide on this, right? Just to keep it nice and clean and simple. I drew one out for you, but the 4 money-making activities: find the people, tell the story, build for events, continuous follow-up, after a bam fam cycle. We have our OEP, and then we get paid. All right, this is the Renata's reproductive system. Take a screenshot. This is it. Then we focus on duplicate. We can just reproduce results again and again and again and again. Remove the mystery, work 10 hours a week, make $1 million a year, master the skills. Master the skills. All right, guys. I got to get on my next call. Thank you so much for being here. Congrats on taking charge of your life and your day. You guys are badasses. I appreciate working with you. This is it. Stay focused. Talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.